Hello, good morning, welcome to Art and Carlo. My name is Eamonn Wall. Today I'm going to give you tips and advice on sowing seed and what's the best way to prepare for sowing seed, because that's the key thing. If you don't prepare, you're going to prepare to fail. So having the right compost. So what I like to use is a seed and cutting compost, which is nice fine. As you can see, there's no lumps in it. So it's nice and fine. That's the best thing is get the, so it's Western do a lovely compost and it's really nice and fine. There's no lumps in it. So preparation is the key thing. So what I've done here, I fill the pot, okay, with your compost, and then I water it. Ideally, I try and do this the day before, because what happens then, if you have fresh compost and you water it and you put the seed in, what will happen is that the whole thing will float, and then your seed get all mixed up and they get spread all over the place, and you have no control where they are. So I always water it, say, the day before, so you know that it's nice and moist, and then you're going to be planted on top of the moist compost. This one here now is a nice terracotta pot. So what I'm going to put is herbs in this one. So I'm going to start off with parsley. And this is your common parsley. Alright, you can see here now. And I'm just going to open up the packet here. I always open these at the bottom because it always tells you on the top the amount, and then you can't remember what's in it if you open at the top, it tears it open. So that's the parsley, just leave that packet there. So when you after it's the seed, tap it. And what you're trying to do, you're trying to get the seed to go to the bottom of the packet. Now there will certain ones, they will stick. I try and do that and it gets into the bottom. Then you can tear it open. And then be careful then, crush your seed. And depending on some packets, that there'd be probably say 500, 700 seed in the packet. What I'd like to get is a nice little white dish, and then you can see your seed, what you're doing then. So that's your seed. All right, what I'm going to do then, just lightly sprinkle. So you don't need to go mad because there's plenty in that. So that's the parsley. Now if we zoom in on that, you can see the seed. What we've done there now. Alright. Now parsley can be grown, this can be grown inside in the window, or later on in say May when it's warmer, you can sow parsley directly into the ground. I like to start it off indoors this time of year, pop it in the kitchen window where it's nice and bright, and we pop that onto the window. But before we do that, we're going to put some compost over it, usually 1/4 inch. So I like to use a sieve just to make sure so it's nice and fine. Pop that over it. You say about 1/4 inch, but you're just really, and that's firm. Now, what you won't have to do then, you won't have to water that, because what's going to happen now is that the moisture that's already in the pot, that will soak up, and that should be plenty in that until it germinates, and then the seed won't be getting washed around. So that's a nice little one for going in the kitchen window, so you'll have your parsley then. All right, so that's that one. I'm just going to leave that out of the way. I'm going to do another one here. Going to do chives, which is another herb. And the secret these are like the parsley. Keep cutting them. Now in this packet here, there's 750 seed in the packet, so there's a lot of seed. And it's great value when you grow herbs yourself, because you'd be surprised how many you can get out of one little packet. Now again, I just cut the top there, and then you open up your. So what we do, you put that back in there, so we can put the seed back in what we haven't used. So leave that out of the way. Now, what I do is get another little white dish, and I always say use a white dish so you can see exactly what you're doing. Pour your seed in there. And then again, sprinkle. And do a nice dense mixture, because you're going to cover the whole top of the pot, and that will all fill in then. So again, it was pre-watered. Pop that back in there, and we can do that at a later date, like that. So I just pop it back in here again. Now I'm going to get my sieve again, and just put my compost over that again. And as I was saying, pop it in the kitchen window. You don't need to water it. If you were to come along now and get a watering can and water that now, what would happen? The seed would get washed to one side, and it'll all be a mess then. So it's done there now, so you don't have to worry about watering it, because you pre-watered, the compost was moist, and that will soak up again. So again, place that in your kitchen window. Germination usually takes between 14 and 21 days. Again, that's depending on the temperature. Now, you can start them off this time of year inside, nice and bright. Key, that's nice bright window. If it's not bright, what will happen is the plants will go leggy. Now, a question I was asked, what happens when the seedlings go tall and leggy? What's the cause of it? The cause of that is when they haven't got sufficient light. So it's very important that they're in a bright situation. All right, so nice and bright, and make sure it's warm as well. If it's not warm, they'll take longer to germinate. So germination is governed by the soil temperature. So the warmer the temperature, the quicker they will germinate. Now I'm going to show you a couple of tomato plants which we grew earlier on. Probably on the last Instagram we were showing putting seeds in here. So they're about, say, 3 weeks at this stage. So they're not ready to be potted out, as we say, or pricked out. These are grown in the visi root, so it's brilliant. You can see they're clear, made of recycled plastic bottles, and they're very visible. So you know when the plant when the roots have come out, you know that you can take it out. A question people ask me is how do you know when a plant is ready? I always say when the plant is a few inches and it's standing up on its own and it is sturdy. But one thing you must never do, you must never handle the seedling by the stem. Because if you damage the stem, the whole plant is gone. You can only handle the seedling by the leaf. So when you're picking it up, make sure it only touch the leaf. This is a tomato plant that was grown earlier by one of our suppliers. So you can see the size of the plant. And this is one. I tend to go for seed now that are more unusual, that you can't get that by the commercial growers. So go for some of the yellow varieties. This one here now is Sun Gold. There's many different varieties. That one I grew there a few weeks back was Profusion. And it's a brilliant tomato because it's a tumbling variety. So it's determined, I should say. So what will happen is that it'll grow to a determined size and will tumble down. What we say indeterminate tomatoes are ones that will keep growing. So you have to side shoot them, and you have to, when they get to the height that you want, you can just pinch them out, and they will keep putting side shoots and keep flourishing then. All right, so that's on tomatoes. I'm also going to show you one here. This is on a little veg pack here on, this was cabbage. So these were put in about 2 weeks ago. You can see they're up there now, so they haven't got the true leaves. These are what we call a cotyledon leaf. So if you are handling, you would only touch the leaves, you never touch what you call it, the true leaves, all right? And again, these are only small, so you wouldn't put them out until they're a more established plant, all right?
So just, do we sell the sieve, and how much is it?
We do. I don't have the price, but it's not actually on this, but we do sell them, so it's a good point. Anything I'm showing here today is available online or in store. I also have a larger sieve, just reminds me there. So this is a small little sieve that we have here. I find it's a handy one. And this is a larger sieve there if you're doing some big trays. So again, these are all available in store or online. Now, peas are easy to grow, and again, as you're planting a situation, you need to put them into little pots, again grow them on. These are the little seeds, as you can see there. Again, we planted this one a few weeks back, and you can see how they've grown up. Peas need support, so this is a brilliant idea from Elho, where they've got the support pre-done, and you could use this for, say, ornamental sweet pea as well, for flowering on a patio. This is a great idea. So if you don't have a garden, you can bring a garden to your patio or a small area on a veranda. And the peas, there's true climbers. What will happen? They'll start wrapping up around here, and they'll go up through the frame. And the secret with picking peas is that once they start to produce peas, keep picking, and the more you pick them, the more they will produce peas. All right. So that's on our fruit. Now, I'm going to show you around the front here something that we sowed earlier. So anyone that hasn't sown them already yet, and we did these again earlier on, onions. So these are your onions. We actually sowed different varieties, and we have them in this tray. Beauty, again, if you have a patio or you have somewhere that you can't, you don't have a garden, so this is a movable. So you can see the pot is movable, which is brilliant. Elho again. And any of the pots and the trays that I'm using today, everything I've used today is made of recycled plastic, which is a brilliant idea. It's environmentally friendly. So anything you see plastic, don't worry, they're all recycled plastic. Now these were planted, normally you plant them double the depth of the bulb. And what we've done here, we've planted onions here, and we've planted garlic. Garlic is a great companion plant. I know we don't have problems with carrot fly on onions, but if you were doing carrots, you could plant the garlic in among them, and it's actually a natural repellent for them. So these are little bulbs. Basically what a little onion bulb is a seed that was grown 1 year ago, harvested, and so it's giving you that quick, because our growing season is very short now, and we don't get the weather long enough, so that's the advantage of growing from what we call an onion set. So it's basically an onion that's a year old. Alright, so that's your onions. There's what here we show. This is what you call a tray. We sell the trays that are pre-done, so if you didn't want to grow, you can actually get peas here now. You could separate. I would tend to not separate these. I would squeeze the cell and take them out and sow them as clumps then. And before you ever take anything out of a tray, make sure it's well watered. And when it's watered, they're loose, then they won't stick to the tray. All right. Now you can see the trays there. These were the cut and come lettuce. Now some of them are a little bit leggy, and that was because we sowed them a few weeks back. Light levels were low. They're in the kitchen window, nice and bright, but the levels were low, so you can find it a little bit stringy. That's not a problem, but that would be a problem if you're sowing flower seeds, because you don't want that. What can happen? They can fall over and they dampen off. And in another couple of weeks, then we can thin these out. We can transplant them on, and they'll be perfect. So these are the cut and come lettuce. Again, we use the Visiroot trays. So you can see they're not rooted through really. It's a slight bit of root, but when they're rooted through, so that really tells you when you can take them out. And when they're rooted through, make sure they're watered, and all you do is squeeze them and turn them over, and they'll pop out. But they're not ready yet. So that's the brilliant thing about using the Visiroot trays. Now I'm going to show you some other ideas for using for pots. Here we have peat pots. Peat pots, you can see here, they're made of peat. They're great for doing vegetables, especially tomato plants, things and veg, that you put them into the pot. I'm just going to take one out here. It doesn't want to come out. Now the beauty about these is that when you put the plants, you put that into compost, you can actually just put it onto a tray and water it. And what I've used here now, this tray I want to show you, is actually a capillary matting. I'm going to show you here now. And again, this is all recycled plastics used in the trays. This is the tray here, and it has a capillary matting on it. And what happens to the capillary matting? You pour your water on, and then it soaks up. So if you put your seeds on this, anything you have on the tray, so you get the capillary action, so it soaks from the bottom, then you don't have to put any water on the top. The brilliant thing about not watering overhead, you don't have any problems of getting a disease on the plants, that they stay wet. And if you are watering on your seedlings, always water in the morning so they give some time to dry up before the night comes. You do not want to water in the evening, otherwise that will remain on the plant. So that's a great idea with the capillary matting. And after putting the little plants in that, you see them there now, so they can soak up the water. Now, if you can see that now already, I only left it for a minute, and you can see the water's after soaking up in the plant. So what you do, pop those on, say, the evening before you want to do those, and then you can pop your seed into it then. So great for sowing any of your tomato plants, if you want to say peppers and things like that, where you just want one little thing, and you pop a little hole into it and pop your seed into it then. So they're a brilliant idea. The other one then is these pellets. And they're made of compost again, but they've been pressed and dehydrated. And what happens, we popped these on this morning, you can see how they swell up. So, and you can pop your seed into that. Again, when the seed grows, what you can do then is transplant it directly into a bigger pot. You don't have to move it. This one I'm going to show planting little sunflower seeds into it. So, we sell little dipplers. I do always lose them at home. A biro pen is what I use, and it's great for making a little hole in the centre. You can use that with little dipplers. We have little dipplers available. You can see here, that's the little dipplers, which are handy, and there is a pointer and around it, and depending on the size of the seed you're going to do. So these are brilliant for when you're actually pricking out seeds and making the hole. They're brilliant, and see how the hole is slightly tapered. So a great idea, the little dipplers. But if you're not stuck, you don't have one, you can fall back to your pen. Now, this is sunflowers, Choco Sun. So great, teachers love these when they're doing them with the kids at school. If you're doing with kids, they're great to show, quick and they're fast. And I'm going to show you. The tray is a great idea. Say you're doing a class or anything, or you want loads of seeds, you don't have to put them into what you call bigger pots taking up room, because you have to remember, you won't always have room on your kitchen window. So these are not in a foil. So we can see now, these are a larger seed. So we can see there, see the size of the seed. So they're a bigger seed. So what we do, you can actually handle each one and just pop it in, like that, and just, that's all you do. So you're popping the seed in, pop it in. If your fingers are moist, the seed will usually stick to it then. So I'll turn them in after. So that's the seed going in. And the beauty about these then is that just pop it in, they're moist already, so again you don't have to water, and sitting on the capillary matting is going to keep them moist. And when you're pouring the water in then, you'll put it on the matting and not over on the plants. So I have them popped in there now. See how I'm just covering over the compost there, just pushing it in. Now again, pop it in the kitchen window again, nice and bright. Now, I'm always saying the kitchen window because most people don't have a propagator. Now, what is a propagator, you might ask? A propagator is basically where you have a tray, and you have two types of propagators. We have a cold propagator where it just relies on the heat of the room, and you can see over here, Darryl, we'll just go to this propagator here. This is a propagator. Again, recycled plastic from Elho. Pop your seedlings in there. This is a lovely one because it's self-watering, so you can actually pour the water in here, and you don't have to pour it over your plants. And then what you have is a lid. So you put your lid. So when you put the plants in, naturally it's going to heat up faster because you're keeping the air here. And when the seedlings germinate, then you can vent it. So see a little vent, which is a brilliant idea. So it's nice. I call that, I say, a little tasty little plant because it's brilliant and it's reusable, strong. This is the Visi root, which I showed you earlier on in the other trays. I grew the tomatoes in these, so they come as a kit. So great for growing little small, especially peppers and things like that, where you only want to grow a few seeds. So you have little modules of 4, and you can see it all. And then they also come with the lid. So it's good, and you have the drip tray again. So you can lift up your trays, you can pour the water in, and then you have your little coloche going over the top. Then, so that's the lid keeping it. So again, builds up the heat. So it's a great idea. So there, what we say, just little ordinary little propagators. Then, if you wanted higher temperatures are usually required for, say, growing tomatoes and peppers and things like that, where you need a higher temperature. You're looking at maybe, say, 18 to 20 plus degrees, depending on the varieties. This one is where we have a little electric propagator, where you plug them in and they give you a nice warm root zone. So these are available in different sizes. You can see there's one type there now. And so there's lots of different types, whether they can be just cold propagate or whether they'll have a heated base that you plug in and it'll aid germination a lot quicker. No, so that's it on those. There's going to be one other one I'm going to show you there now. These lupins. Lupins are a favourite of mine there now. So you can pop these into trays and you can do the very same as we're doing the carrots, put the seed over, or you can actually do them individual. I like to do them individual because when you get them then, they're easy to manage. So again, I open at the bottom, you can see these are a bigger seed. So once again, tear the top open. And I have one more here, so my little, and you pop your seed into it. These are handy now, they're nice big seeds. Now, if you like, you can pop them onto a tray, but I like to do them, one into, so we have there, we finished up on that one, so again, one seed in each one. And because they're a nice big seed, it's very easy to do this there. That one's there. That's why I think the little jiffy pots a great idea, because then when it comes, you don't have to prick out, so you don't have to come along and start separating. I grew delphiniums last year and I put them in the tray. What I found is that they grow so fast and you have to be quick to get them out. If you're busy then you don't have time to do it. So they're a brilliant idea using a little jiffy tray. So again, just pop it in, little compost. Once it's in there, that's nature look after then. And you have the moisture soaking up from the capillary mat in there now, so it's going to keep it nice and moist. So that's your lupins again. Now lupins can be sown again directly into the ground, say May onwards, but I again start them off inside. They're nice and handy. All right. Now I'm going to take this down. I'm going to show you another plant in here. Now, this what I'm going to show you is I'm going to put carrots in this. Often people ask us, well, how do you sow spring onions? How do you sow carrots? If you are sowing them in a garden situation, you can do a drill. And what you do, just run your finger down the drill like that. That's what I do in the soil. So sprinkle your seed into your drill. And then just lightly cover it over and then give it a watering with a fine rose on your watering can. Now that's one way of sowing it, so you can sow directly your carrots into the ground. You can do that, say, from April onwards. I tend to always like to do later plants, April, May, because if you sow early and you get bad weather, like next week we're going to have frost next Sunday, so again I like to leave things a little bit later. What I'm using here, this is an Elho planter, brilliant idea again, it's on wheels. So this is an A-list offer. You spend your €60 anywhere in the garden centre, you get one of these free, one per customer. And I'm going to sow carrots in this. It's a lovely little carrot. See this one, just you zoom in that now. It's a small little one, great for the kids, small little rounded one, roughly round. I've grown this myself and I've grown it in pots and I love it. It's a real easy one. So with carrots or spring onions, you sow surplus amounts, and then you thin out. All right, so what we do, tear the top again. A question that came in was asked is how long will the seed last? And the seed, how long the seed will live, depends on different varieties. So normally the seeds come with 1 year to 2 years viability. And basically that's what happens, like as the seed is a living plant. And what happens then, once it's taken, it will actually will go into hibernation if it's too cold or too hot. And so someone said to me, can they store them in the fridge? If you store them in the fridge, you see what will happen, it will go into hibernation, and then it will take different methods to unhibernate the seed to make it regrow. So don't store them in the fridge. If you're storing seed, store them in a cool, dark place, out of sunlight. So that's the carrot seed. All right. You saw the parsley was black, and the parsley has a little curl in the seed. Now, what you do there, sprinkle them around. Now you can't spread them out exactly the way you want. They're too small. So you sow, like the scallion, you sow to what we call to excess. And with the carrots, scallions, don't sow everything all in one go. But for scallions now, spring onions, you would sow every 2 to 3 weeks. The same with the lettuce. You need to leave an interval, because if you sow everything on one day, the whole crop is going to come. So depending on the weather, if the weather is warmer, what do you call it, more frequent, and if the weather's cooler, then you'd have to leave a bigger gap between the sowing then. So that's the seeds sprinkled out. These are brilliant, and when they grow, then you'll thin out according to where the gaps are, and you let them grow. They're full, but they're only going to grow that size. So you can see that's the carrot. So again, I could sprinkle with compost, sieve it over the top. Then what I'm going to show you, often confusion people come into is vermiculite. Vermiculite is this nice light product. What is used to aeration the compost to make it so it's free draining, often used in house plants, in seed and cuttings, propagation when you're doing cuttings. Can be used in seeds. I tell you not to bother with seeds, because if you use the multi-purpose compost and it's not overwatered, you're fine. And the other one then is vermiculite. Vermiculite is beautiful, nice and light, and you can see it there now. What I'm going to do is sprinkle that over the top, and that's going to cover the seed. And it's nice and light, and the seed can push up. See there now, going over the top of there. This is great to use on very small seed, that the compost will be actually lumps on top. You take say lobelia seed now, where it's very fine, and petunias and things like that. Now, as I said, depending on seed varieties, not all seed need to be covered. Some seed need the light for germination, and so it depends on the variety. The beauty about this, I can turn it around. So, and use about a quarter of an inch. You're covering the seed over. And again, you don't have to do any watering, because I pre-watered this. And one thing when you are watering a tray, don't put a pot or a tray and you water it and then plant it within an hour. Do it the night before, because what happens then, bring it into the kitchen, it's like putting your feet in cold water. It's a shock, and they're not going. So put the seed into a nice warm root zone. Don't put cold water and then add the seed. So make sure, leave it in the day before. So that's why I giving it time to heat up. So we just put that somewhere, so nice and bright, okay. And it can go somewhere with what do you call it? You could put it outside, but say at the moment now it's going to be cold, so it will take longer, and it's going to be frosty weekend. So I put it somewhere bright inside. And if you do have seedlings that you start inside, make sure that you what we call harden them up. So you put them out during the day, then bring them back in, put them out. You do that for 2 to 3 days, and it gets them acclimatized. Again, not shocking them, putting from a warm environment outside. Now, that's my tips and advice on growing seeds. Lots of ideas and lots of different methods for growing seeds. And the thing is, you get going now. It's a great time to start now. Just be aware of the weather outside. A little bit cold yet for putting seeds outside, so start them off indoors. What I'm just going to show you, people often say, well, how did your plants turn out, the bulbs that you did? So if you go down there, Gary, you can see that was another instrument that we did. And they were the mixed, what we call this, planters that were pre-done in the cardboard. You can see the mixed very versions there. We put in ceramic pot and also in the elbow planters. Just so letting you know how things turn out. So it goes to show you. So again, you've got to have great vision when you're planting seeds. So I'll say to you, it's happy planting.